into clear, client-ready answers. I'm Risa. I'm a real estate agent, a broker, a coach, and today we're going to be talking about how agents can pull real local data from maybe tools like RPR and InfoSparks. After I've gone through how you can be pulling data, Terrence, our mortgage expert, is going to break down the mortgage data points and why everyone's quoted rate isn't always the same. Are we ready, Terrence?
I am ready, Risa. Let's kick this thing off.
Awesome. All right. Well, by the end of this episode, you're going to learn a little bit about how to go ahead and answer the question of how's the market. You'll learn how to pull out charts that you can show to buyers or sellers or explain interest rate differences or get without getting lost in the jargon. So today is no fluff. We're going to just talk about tools. Now, that being said, going forward, our episodes are going to look different. We're going to be actually giving you the information about how's the market. So let's start with a tool, and I want to use RPR. So let me share with you my screen. Now, RPR is one of our free tools that comes with MRED, and RPR is one of the least used products, and I don't know why. So let me go ahead and get that for you. Here's RPR. Now you log in with your MLS contact information. And Terrence, give me a thumbs up if you see it.
Not yet. It's still loading.
All right, but it's coming.
It's coming. Oh, your face is back. There it is.
All right, here's RPR. This tool is huge. It's got a wealth of information. And if somebody were to ask you how's the market and they're not from Illinois, RPR actually has US data. So you're using this tool for anywhere. And I want you to know that when somebody asks you, how's the market, you're always going to respond with, which market? Because the reality is the markets are all hyper local. And so it really depends on their location. It depends on the type of housing. It depends on when they're talking about, because today's market is different than yesterday's market and as will be tomorrow's market. But here's a quick answer. So how's the market? Well, I'm going to go into research and I'm going to go to one of these types of searches. Now, I happen to like a few of these better than others, but for today's purposes, I'm going to go to residential market trends. And here's where you can put in a county, a city, a zip code, or even as small as a neighborhood. So my office is in Lincoln Park. And let's see how it does. Didn't like that. I know I tested this beforehand. I'll put in the zip code. Whoa, okay, check this out. So you've got now the market trends. We can see in layman's terms, we are in a seller's market in Lincoln Park. There is 0.46 months of inventory, meaning if no more properties came on the market right now, we'd be able to clear out all the inventory that's currently there in a half a month. So we're very low inventory, which means that the sellers have a little bit of control. And in the Lincoln Park market right now for single family condo townhouse apartments, the seller has upper hand. But I want you to just see that when I change this to single family, the numbers will change a bit. Single family is 0.59. Let's see if condos change dramatically. Oh my gosh, I don't usually see that in the condo market. Do you, Terrence?
No.
No, usually there's more inventory in condos than there are single family houses. So that was a little bit of a shocker for us too. And if we scroll down here, great graphs to give us the idea of the median value. And what I like to do when I'm looking at these charts is talk about the trajectory, meaning where are they going? And at a quick glance, it certainly looks like everything is going up. So, hey, sellers in Lincoln Park, now might be the greatest time to sell because it looks like prices are continuing to increase over time and have been since, wow, it looks like February of last year, this year. That's a great time to sell. Now you can also see what the average median price is. Now I'm still on that condo. I'm going to switch back to single family just so you can see how different each market is. I'm going to switch. And it didn't update. Let's do that one more time. Apply to all charts. There we go. Look at that median price of the single family house in Lincoln Park, $1,688,000. And
Mm.
again, the trajectory has been going up. It's starting to level off where it is. But basically, if we were to analyze this closely, it's still going up. And over last year, prices are up 2.7%. Hey, seller, did you know that you might have more equity than you had last year? In fact, prices are up 2.7% since last year. And then I also want you to see what's going on in the active market. Now, active market is not as many luxury properties. We're seeing much more of the 760,000 properties. There are only 8 single family houses on the market in Lincoln Park. That is mind blowing at this moment. And it is taking 63 days to go ahead and sell those properties off. Now, that's 90% longer than it was last month. So, Chicago is seasonal, and you will find that there are cool down time periods. I often find that things pick up right around Thanksgiving because people are off work and they want to close off before the beginning of the year. But the reality is this is our cool down period until Super Bowl, and then we pick up with our spring market. So we're going to see a cool down. Our median price per square foot, which I don't like to use. And then here's our total sales volume. How much has sold this year? I don't know what that actually means. Total volume. All right. Not a graph I would use, but hey, the graph still shows us the trajectory is that we're improving. And if people want to see how this year's going great. How's the market in Lincoln Park? It's pretty darn good. And again, you can look at pending listings, look at the data. There's 2 properties under contract, and we've got, wow, very few sold right now. So we're sitting at about 0.59 months supply, and it's gone down just even more. So how's the market? Doing great with a few data points in there. Now, that being said, I don't like to use adjectives to describe the market, so I want to use InfoSparks to give you some more data points to answer that question. So we've asked, which market? And they might say, well, I am looking at Des Plaines. And you say Des Plaines as the city, Des Plaines as a subdivision, Des Plaines in general. So I'm going to choose Des Plaines. And what price point are you looking at? That matters. And watch my graph as I go ahead and choose 340 and higher. Do you see how that data point changed? And which kind of family and property? Single family or townhouses or condos? And again, I'm going to choose detached, and I'm going to use resale market, not the new construction. And here's the data points I want you to analyze. Again, we see in displays the prices going up. It looks like it has gone up to a median price of $434,700. The next data point when people ask the question is going to be our month supply. How much time will it take us to clear out the inventory before before all the inventory is gone? Now, we saw in Lincoln Park it was less than half a month. In Des Plaines, it's sitting at 1.4. So write this down. From 0 to 4 is a seller's market. 4 to 6 is a balanced market, and Chicago is historically a balanced market. And you'll know when we're in a balanced market because it feels like we're slow, but it really is a balanced market, meaning there's equal buyers to equal listings. And then 6 and higher becomes a buyer's market. So clearly right now, the sellers have control in now the single family market in Des Plaines as well as in Lincoln Park. The third data point you're going to want to share when people ask you how the market is, I like to look at last list price. Now, what this tells me is, well, in Des Plaines, properties are selling at 100% of list price. So that is, hey, seller, if we price at market value, that means not inflating, at market value, then you're going to probably get 100%, maybe even multiple offers on that price point. So yeah, you've got the upper hand and you've got that chance. And then finally, the last data point that I think is important to answer that question is going to be shows to contract. Well, it looks like in Des Plaines, it takes, well, that's pretty crazy. How many is that? 13 showings? I can't believe that. All right, that's amazing considering before it was taking so much less. But 13 showings. So, hey, seller, it really only takes 1 showing to get it sold, but we might have up to 13 showings. Are you prepared for that? All right. All right. Well, I want you all to try that out yourself. So we just talked about a few data points, and I just want to repeat them so that we're clear on how to answer that question about how's the market. We talked about median of estimated home value, looking at the trajectory of going up or going down, looking at the trends, whether it's flattened or accelerated, taking a look at for sale inventory and new listings, looking at the month supply, which tells us whether it's a seller's market, a buyer's market, or a balanced market, and looking at median days on the market. So we know really and truly how long a seller is going to sit on the market, and if they have to sell quicker, that they might need to be more aggressive in their pricing. And then the last one I just showed you was list to sale price ratio, which gives you a sense that the property is closing X% of lists, making sure that you've priced it at market value. So over under asking dynamics just tells you whether or not the market is heating up or cooling. So I'm going to encourage you to go ahead and create a couple charts. Be prepared to share that market summary with your clients. Try it on both RPR and InfoSparks. Again, closed sales, pending sales, month supply, median sales price, and showings per listing. That way you can talk about what's going on in the market. So just to wrap that all up, when you bundle these slides or these graphics into your listing presentation or your buyer consult, keep it simple. Always point out those 4 data points I've showed you, and make sure your client understands how to answer the question of how's the market, because all their friends and family are going to be able to be asking them that. And you're the expert that guides them. So, how's the market? It depends. So, hopefully I didn't confuse you, but I'm going to pass this off to Terrence World so he can tell us about rates and why quotes vary.
Yes. So I will use an adjective when describing how the market is because I'm gonna say it's hot. It is. It's on fire. No. So on fire, Risa. So yeah, no, I really like the answer of it depends, right? Because everybody's situation is different, and this is one of the biggest hurdles that we have to overcome when working with clients, and they're asking, and even some of our agent partners, because it's just something that people don't understand, right? I mean, you can drive down the street and you can see a billboard from ABC Bank that says our rates are 5%, and you're going 95 miles an hour, so you can't read the fine print that says 800 credit score, 20% down, single family home in the suburbs, loan amount of 250 or less. So there are numerous factors that go into what your rate's going to be, right? So for the most part, everybody starts with the same rate, right? Market rate is exactly the same, but what changes the rate are going to be the adjustments.
Mhm.
So there are adjustments for almost every single thing you could think of. And I'll start with the big one that everybody knows about, credit score. That's going to be number one, right? So the way that it works in tiers. Essentially, every 20 points, you're going to see a change in your rate, right? So 680 to 699, 700 to 719, 720 to 739, 740 to 759, 760 to 779, and now 780 plus. The threshold used to stop at 760 plus, but now there's another one, 780 plus. So while having a 700 plus credit score is great, just know that if you're at 701, there's still more tiers to go. You can still make improvements. So credit score, that's how that's going to work. Another thing that's going to factor into it is property type. So obviously we're in Chicago, so we have, in my brain, 3 big. We have single family homes, we have condos, and we have multifamilies. I do a lot of multifamilies. So you're going to have an adjustment. Single family homes are going to price out the best. Condos, your rate's going to be higher. There's an adjustment hit for condos. There's an adjustment hit for for multifamilies. So condos versus multifamily, those rates are going to be higher than that of a single family home. Marisa, I couldn't tell you how many times, because I work with a lot of people in the city and a lot of people in the suburbs too. Well, my cousin just bought a house in Schaumburg, and why is her rate lower? I'm like, well, multiple factors. But the first thing I'm going to say is because you're buying a condo and your cousin bought a single family. Without knowing anything about her financial situation, that right there is going to make a difference. Something else that's going to factor into the interest rates are going to be occupancy. So obviously, a lot of our agents work with investors, right? So owner occupied versus non-owner occupied. Rates are going to be higher for investment properties, meaning non-owner occupied. So just you're not living in the property. You don't have as much skin in the game. Fannie Freddie tax you for that. So your rate's going to be higher if you're not occupying the property. So talk about credit score, talk about property type, occupancy. Guess what else? Income.
Mm.
So unfortunately, the more money you make, the higher the rate's going to be. If your income is at or above the area median income, there's going to be a hit. If you're below 100% AMI, a lot of those hits go away. Your pricing's going to be a little bit better. So that's going to factor in as well. And then let's not talk about if your income is lower and you qualify for any of the Home Ready Home Possible products, then your rate's going to be even better. So many different variables go into what your rate is. So you can't just look at, hey, Terrence, what are rates? Well, as Risa said, it depends. Let's go through all the stuff and all the things. What's credit score? What kind of property you buy? How much are you putting down? Also, loan to value is going to affect your interest rate. So it's not as simple as where are rates, because guess what? I have no idea. I can give you a range that goes 2, 3, 4 points. And this is before we even talk about paying and buying down the rate, paying discount points, because anybody can do that. You can bring additional funds to closing to reduce your rate. So one time cost that you pay at closing, you buy the rate down. But what we want to factor in is, does it make sense to do that? Because it doesn't. I locked someone earlier today. He said, well, what if I pay 3 points? I'm like, your break even point is 5 years away. Like, that makes absolutely no sense. If we're going to refinance it, hopefully, if rates keep getting better, if we're going to refinance it within the next 1 to 2 years, you're going to waste money. There's no point. So these are all the factors that we have to talk about. So it's not as simple as, like you said, Risa, what's the market like? What are rates? So those are the variables. Hopefully, I didn't bore you too much. Hopefully, that made sense. But hopefully, that clarified some things when people say, well, again, I saw this billboard or you sent out this flyer. I'm like, yes, read the fine print. Let's talk about your situation specifically.
I'm going to ask you the $1 million question,
Oh,
Terrence, and I'm sure you've gotten this question before, but hey, the Treasury just dropped the rates. Why are my rates not dropping?
because they didn't drop mortgage interest rates. That is my very quick and easy to the point answer. They do not set mortgage rates. Now, over time, it will trickle down. But those rate cuts were already built into market pricing. And coincidentally, funny enough, since last Wednesday, since they made that cut, guess what rates have done? They've gone up. So it always happens. We field phone calls all the time. We try to get ahead of it, but it's the way that it is presented to people. It's the way the news says, oh, feds are cutting rates, mortgage rates are going to go down. I'm like, hold on now. It's not a one-to-one. There's not a direct correlation. That's bank to bank lending, right? That's bank to bank. One of the big examples I say, remember when the Fed rate was zero? Were mortgage rates zero? No, they weren't. They were low, but they weren't zero. So that's why it's very important to not, because I have people right now, and this is when I say the market is hot for us. We've been doing refinances over the last couple of months, which is something that really hasn't been in our vocabulary for about what, 2 years? So now people are refinancing, but I have people that are sitting on the sideline waiting because, and again, same conversations over and over. Hey, Terrence, I hear that there's going to be more rate cuts the rest of the year. I'm like, your rates have gone up since they cut rates last time. Let's get you set up. We can always do it again. You know, I always tell people you can't time the market. If it makes sense, and this is not just me trying to sell them, if it makes sense and it improves your situation, do it. Because you can always, unless you want to gamble, fine, but you can always do it again.
I think if we had a crystal ball, we could answer that question so much better. But, I keep asking for that crystal ball for Christmas, and Santa doesn't listen to that.
Maybe this year. I mean,
Maybe
Christmas
this
did
year.
start 4 days ago, so
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, hopefully we educated all of you about how to answer the question of how's the market. Use your data points. Lean into our preferred lenders like Terrence and Maria at A&M Mortgage. Lean into them so you can get the jargon and the real facts so that you can go back out and explain that to the consumer. Again, next time we do this, it's going to be the first Tuesday of every single month on Tuesday at 2 o'clock. We're going to be pulling out stats on your favorite community. So message us, let us know which community you would like us to highlight. And in 20 minutes or less, we're going to answer the question of how's the market? So until then, thank you so much, Terrence.
Thanks, Risa.
All right, this was so much fun. And we will be seeing, I think, Maria next month. So you never know, Terrence might make a surprise appearance. Maybe Maria will make a surprise appearance right now.
Nope.
Nope. Okay. I didn't know. All right, everybody. Go make it a great week. I'll see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.